The Boreal Fires team with the Alaska EPSCoR Fire and Ice Project are using a technology called hyperspectral imaging to map wildfire fuels in the Alaska boreal forest. Images captured by a hyperspectral camera give researchers a unique ability to map the distribution, variability, and quantity of wildfire fuel types, which will be used to enable better wildfire management and prevention across Alaska.
To explain how researchers use hyperspectral cameras, let's first talk about sunlight and electromagnetic energy. Electromagnetic, or EM, energy radiates from the sun in waves of varying sizes. Most of these waves are not visible to the human eye, but they are still being absorbed or reflected by objects on Earth. The intensity of their reflectance can be measured by highly sensitive cameras through a process known as hyperspectral imaging.
A normal digital camera captures visible light waves reflected from objects in a scene and records this information in just 3 bands: red, green, and blue. The EM spectrum contains thousands of unique wavelengths, ranging from very large radio waves to ultra-small gamma waves. EM waves can be grouped into bands, like the red, green, and blue bands from our normal image, but rather than just red, green, and blue bands, a hyperspectral camera records hundreds of bands, representing a larger portion of the EM spectrum.
Researchers use hyperspectral cameras to measure and record EM energy. These cameras are often mounted on satellites or on airplanes to capture images of Earth's surface. Researchers are also gathering images from the ground to calibrate the airborne images, a process known as ground truthing. The higher a camera is from the ground, the more vegetation will be contained in each pixel. The closer it is to the ground, the more accurately it can identify the vegetation. Where a pixel from a satellite image represents a 30 by 30 meter space on the ground, and a pixel from an image captured from a high-altitude plane represents a 5 by 5 meter space, the Boreal Fires team is using a bush plane to collect hyperspectral images with pixels that will represent 1 by 1 meter spaces.
While an aerial image from a normal camera can tell us that a group of green pixels is a stand of trees, a hyperspectral image could help us determine what type of trees they are by identifying the tree's spectral signatures. Much like each person has their own unique signature, the chemical makeup of all materials can be accurately identified by the amount of EM energy they reflect, organized by wavelength and intensity. Our eyes register most plants as green because healthy vegetation reflects more energy in the green band of visible light than red or blue. In reality, vegetation reflects even more energy in near-infrared bands, making identification and classification of plant species easier and more accurate than relying on green visible light.
By using the spectral signatures of these plants, we can begin to map the boreal landscape. With higher resolution hyperspectral images comes greater accuracy in determining the types of vegetation present in each area. Once we have accurate maps of vegetation coverage, we can begin to predict seasonal wildfire risk and spread. Researchers will produce high-resolution maps that classify vegetation by forest type and will eventually extend this data to model for the entire Alaska boreal forest. Ultimately, hyperspectral imaging will help to develop science-based options for communities across Alaska to improve wildfire management and resilience. For more information on the Fire and Ice Project, visit www.alaska.edu/EPSCoR.